as I'm sure we all know, there's an election coming up next week at some point, I think. And a lot of other media outlets have been making midterm polls to determine today's, general public opinion of politics. And the BBC did a poll, and the results came out saying that you were the most popular Westminster leader, and that the Pirate Party could go into opposition after the election. And in another one, the Westbridge Times says that the Pirate Party is intended to win, and that you are more popular than the Prime Minister. So, how would you react to these results from these polls, Boston?
So obviously I was away for the weekend when that Westbridge Times poll result came out. But let's just say it was a great joy to hear that we had won that poll when I eventually found out. It was a cold and rainy day this weekend, every day, but I woke up, I got on my phone, I looked, and I saw that we won, and I just thought to myself, we can't stop winning, and we're gonna keep winning. The people love the Pirate Party because we stand for something serious. We stand on business as well. In Parliament, we don't even have to show up one week. We still have done more than every other party combined. So honestly, I'm really pleased with the results, and clearly the people are seeing the progress that we have worked for, and I feel like that is swaying the public's opinion a lot, and I think that they're voting based off of that.
Lovely jubbly. So as you know, you have to build yourself to get people on your side. How do you think you've managed to get these polls in your favour?
Well, a lot of work, honestly, over the past term or so. For the most part, it originally started out beginning last election. That's when I became leader. It started out with just going to Westbridge and campaigning. We didn't really have as many people. There wasn't much motivation or momentum. So we went to Westbridge, started campaigning, got a couple votes, but we struggled there. But once we got into the crossbenches, once we actually got into Parliament, that's where we started seeing a difference being made. We opposed a lot of the government's policies, and we actually provided strict accountability for that. But we also were bipartisan and worked together with them on a lot of things, and we actually got a lot of meaningful legislation passed. I feel like people seeing a party that can both work together and oppose another party, especially one in government, that's a popular philosophy, and a lot of the policies that we ran on and stood for actually got implemented this term, like abolishing the DCMS. So I feel like this great success mixed with bipartisanship, mixed with the fact that we're a fun party, we have a good image. There's not any scandals surrounding us really, and when there is quote unquote a scandal, it has nothing to do with like actually being a scandal, but more so political, like leaking a friend's group chat. But I won't go into that yet. Uh, so I feel like that just the combination of all those factors is the reason we've grown so much and why we're seeing this success now.
Yeah, lovely jubbly. Um, so yeah, we talked about the polls, but are they actually true? Because they are basically just predictions, pretty much ish. So do you see yourself as maybe not the next, but a future prime minister of the UK?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know about next. That's obviously that's a pretty tall task, and will require a decent amount of work, I'd say. Obviously, we inherently are at a disadvantage compared to the social democrats and the unionists who embody the in real life labor and Tory party. So they usually get a lot of the swing votes. People are just like, oh, that's the Tories, oh, that's the Labor Party, and they vote for that. But obviously we're at a disadvantage, but I feel like the fact that we've raised 80 members in the past month since I've been leader, month and a half, uh, completely fairly too. Yeah, sure, Forward rose 210, but how many illegal practices did they participate in to actually do that? But I'll get into that later. We've grown 70 members authentically, and I think that that's pretty crucial. It shows that the public opinion is starting to sway.
Yeah. Speaking on members there, how do you feel about the Social Democrats losing, the amount of members they've been losing over the past month?
Well, the thing with the Social Democrats is, I respect Martin, who's the new leader.
Yeah.
He's a good dude, but that party is completely intertwined with corruption and, in general, just treason to the UK. I feel like that their member base has come to realize that. They started out solid, but in the past year or so, ever since really Colin or Allen left and Colin took power, he's totally shaped it into a force of just corruption, nepotism. I mean, you could see like in the case of Victoria A. Hemsworth and Edward Lighton, pushing her into the wards even though she was completely unqualified. The whole Commonwealth incident. It's just time and time again the Social Democrats show that they're really corrupt. And honestly, I can understand why people are like, I don't want to do this anymore, and they're leaving. Even Dean, like the hero of the Social Democrat Party,
Yeah,
came in, and he couldn't even turn the tide for it. So I think that goes to say a lot.
yeah, true. Because he's been prime minister what 3 times now? Is it something like that?
I think he's won like 6 elections in the
Jesus.
history of
Because I
something
remember,
like that.
because I remember when he like became leader, he was saying like we're gonna smash you all in elections and stuff like that, but obviously not.
Well,
And
the thing with him is he wanted to bring a like 2020 election tactic to 2025.
20, yeah,
He was I will give Mr. Dean full credit. The dude is a nasty DM campaigner. This dude can work some magic if he could DM campaign, but obviously that's just not allowed anymore. That's no
yeah.
longer.
Yeah, but quickly going back to the polls, as as I've said, today it's Britain Today is making a voter intention poll, and looking at some of the responses, we've come across Persian, the Forward UK leader, who said that you would make a good prime minister.
Yeah.
So what do you
So
have to say about that then?
the thing is, Persian and I are not enemies, not at all. We actually were friends for the longest while before Forward.
Yeah,
I agree that I mean, I obviously agree with him that I would make a good prime minister, but we are able to work together, Persian and I, and we have worked together in the past before. Obviously, I disagree with what he's done here in the UK. Yeah, I stand
absolutely.
against a lot of what he's done, but I mean, Persian's a good guy. We regularly talk about a lot of personal things. Like a good example is his swimming times, because I used to swim too. So we kind of talk about that, but we talk about some in real life stuff, and I feel like setting aside politics and like your thoughts on things to actually tell the truth is pretty important. And so like I think Persian, he would make a good prime minister. I don't know if it would be good for like what I believe in, but I do think that Persian would be a strong prime minister. He'd at least um, he'd be a prime minister that could get the job done that he was elected to do.
Because, so, as you said, you're friends. So let's say that it's a hung parliament with either Forward UK as the biggest party or the Pirate Party as the biggest party. Do you think a coalition government would happen between you two if that became the case?
Um, That honestly, I'm not too sure. It'll have to depend ultimately on what the Pirate Party wants. But if I do look at trends and what most of our caucus is saying right now, they have a pretty strong no forward policy, um, which honestly I've kind of agreed with
Yeah.
so far, just as a result of forward's actions. Um,
Yeah, because they have been
inciting
kind
a
of.
lot of tear in this country. But oh, what were you saying?
They have been kind of riddled with scandals quite a lot lately.
Oh yeah, and a lot of them have a lot of sustenance to it, like the UKFO quid pro quo, just a lot of stuff like that. So most likely the pirates are not going to coalition with anyone or forward. We also wouldn't really coalition with the nationals. We would with the unionists and social democrats, though.
Yeah. Now the last session of Parliament's on Friday, as I've heard. So that means you guys have to go out campaigning and etc. I think. So do you and your colleagues within the Pirate Party have a solid plan for your election campaign?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've been preparing for this for 2 months now. Getting 9 seats and being the fourth largest party in Parliament puts a chip on your shoulder, and we've been pretty determined to come back from the dead there. Um, we went from consistent, solid growth to stagnation in the past election, which was where we got the same amount of seats as before. This election, I think that we're going to have exponential growth again. And so as a result, Barron and I specifically, because Baron is a good graphics maker. Have been working on the manifesto. Pokemon a rule, lol. I don't know how to say his name, but that's what I've guessed. Him and I have been working together along with Mr. Bruce's May on a actual campaign tactics for in Westbridge, campaigning in Westbridge. We have 3 campaign managers that are stepping up to the plate to help organize campaign teams. So we have a lot of good oops. We have a lot of good things going for us.
Lovely jubbly. So, yeah, so everyone's going to be going out and voting, aren't they? So, why should people choose the Pirate Party for government to vote?
So in this upcoming election, there is a lot of reasons the Pirate Party should be the party people select. Um, there's a whole plethora. So let's just get started rattling them off. For number one, it would prevent a dangerous and disastrous government being formed in the name of forward. A lot of our public institutions and a lot of public individuals have been attacked ruthlessly for no clear reason as a result by forward. They're also making deals with organized crime groups to get their votes in exchange for false promises of development and a lot of other things. Keeping them out of government is a priority, and that was shown through the BBC's poll, where they said that Forward UK was considered the biggest threat by like 60 votes to the United Kingdom. Um, so that keeping them out is a huge plus. The Pirate Party is very well known for creating out policies that are considered out there, policies that you'd consider insane, and yet within months you'll see people constantly take them from our manifesto and then make them their own party's policy, and then try to take the credit when they actually do that thing that the pirates came up with. Abolishing the DCMS was the biggest one that I could think of off the top of my head. That was originally a pirate party policy, but every party after that took that idea, and once they actually implemented it, they tried to take credit for doing that when in reality it was our policy and we came up with it. And ever since then, things have been going better, I'd say, since abolishing it. So there's a lot of reasons to vote for the Pirates. We actually get things done in Parliament. Obviously, our attendance has been attacked for this last session, but we had a lot of people out. You have a lot of people doing stuff around this time of the year. It's school. I had a military training exercise. My deputy leader's computer broke. You just have a lot of things going on and can't help it sometimes. But there's a reason the prime minister and most of the unionists have said I've been the most influential MP this term. And a major reason for that is because we actually hold the government accountable. And being able to form government means we would continue that progress.
Lovely jubbly. So, speaking of the unionists and whatnot, how would you say this government has done overall in this term? What do you think they could have done differently to the things they've done badly?
So there's a couple things. I in general, I agree with the government so far. I've actually been in close talks with JBM. We've had a liaise and uh, Discord where we've talked basically legislation and worked together on them. And they've done a lot of good, meaningful things. A lot of pirate policies as well. Simple devolution in Northern Ireland. Um, just in general, they've worked a lot on bills that we actually support and approve. They've also passed and worked on bills that we strongly oppose. The amendment to the Courts and the Patents Act are 2 examples. For the most part, though, we've agreed with this government. We've been in close coordination, bipartisanship, working together on legislation. We feel that made a lot of concessions to get some of our agenda passed in exchange for us helping them get their agenda passed. And in general, I approve of them. Some things they could have done differently. I really did not like how they handled the nepotism case of the LFB. I think that they could have, in general, OCA, they could have released some of that information to the public, especially considering the danger of that organization group and why they were making them national security threats in the first place. I think releasing that and being transparent would have been more important than just striking them down. So a little bit of transparency issues, but for the most part, this government has been very solid, and we've enjoyed working together with them.
Lovely jubbly. I keep saying lovely jubbly. I don't know why,
It's
but
okay.
yeah. So what are your views on the shutdown of the media house?
The media house, in my opinion, has completely and utterly failed in their tasks and responsibilities. Um, the media has been the most politicized and toxic channel in the main UK Discord. It was used as like a mouthpiece at one point for Forward for George Godsend to basically release opinionated poll or opinions and polls into general news. Um, there's I'm all for free speech and even free press, but there should be a sort of standard that's upheld in keeping media fair and free, and not just a I won't say the word, but it starts with an S posting in the general news channel. I feel like that really brings a bad image to the United Kingdom and our media in general. And so I feel like the media house has failed completely and utterly in actually preventing that and keeping a high standard for media, which is something that we should expect in a country with so many media companies that are really putting in a lot of work to try and remain fair and honest and impartial. Westbridge Times is an example. Tredo Network's pretty good. You guys are good. Britain Today. ITV is pretty impartial. So you have a lot of news sources that are putting in the work to try and remain impartial and have fair journalism, and then you have people trying to destroy that by putting in fake news or cropped images to try and bash other people, political opponents. So far, I approve of it. We actually have some policies in this upcoming election that we're running on that would be considered out there in regards to the media, but I think people will be excited to read our manifesto for that.
Hey then, now I know you've only been leader for about a month and a half or whatever it was. I can't remember.
Oh,
Keep my
about a month
memory.
and a half, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we're getting up to
So if you lose the general election with bad results, like you lose quite a chunk of seats, like the Social Democrats did in the last election, will you
2.
step down as leader?
Um, I don't think so. No. Uh, we very well could lose seats. I don't think we will, but we could. I mean, it's very real. We have a whole new party, and regardless of your opinions on if they cheated or not, which in my opinion they have, they still are bringing about anywhere from 100 to 200 votes to the table, and when we get elections with 400 votes, that obviously tips the scales pretty significantly. That for every party, they're going to gain a lot of seats, and those seats got to come from somewhere. So obviously, the Nationals are going to lose a lot because they have no momentum, and in general, they've just been an absolutely terrible party in general in government and everything. One of the worst parties I think has ever graced this United Kingdom. Uh, and then the Social Democrats have obviously lost momentum with the whole Dean incident. So I feel like they're going to lose most of the seats, but even if the Pirates do lose some seats, in the end, it's because there's a whole new party with a bunch of new voters, a whole new voter base. And so it's reasonably expected that every party will lose seats while they gain a lot. Now, if
Hmm.
it's like an egregious loss, like we get like 2 or 3 seats, okay, then yeah, maybe I'll consider stepping down. But I'm not worried about that at all. I don't think it'll be that bad.
Now I have a question for you, but I stupidly forgot it. So let me just have a quick brainstorm. It was about Forward UK. I can't remember what the bloody hell it was about though. Um, okay, I'll just go with this one. Yeah. So, Forward UK in the BBC polls were voted as the biggest concern within the community. Do you think this is a rightful sort of vote in a way, or do you think otherwise?
Absolutely. Forward UK is absolutely criminal in the way that they operate. They have a very long history of importing. Persian has been banned here for importing voters in the Nationals. George Godsend was banned from Australia and multiple other nations for voter importation. ZC Investor, I believe, has been banned for it too, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that, so don't take that one with a grain of salt. But I know that Persian and George have. They have a strong history of cheating in elections, basically, because that's what it is cheating. A lot of the things that they've stood for have been absolutely criminal. Attacking secretaries for no clear reason because they don't get their way. Uh, Violating our civil institutions, and it's just ruthless attacks against people for no reason. In the event of Wandering Maria, who left their party because she wanted to pursue a media career, they've tried to guilt trip her into returning by saying that every other party was mean to her, but not him. And so in return, they've been mean to her. They're using just very authoritarian tactics to try and gain votes. Um, they tried to claim that the Unionists committed in real life crimes against them, and then they deleted it. They've gone against group staff in their own UK channel. Group staff tells them to stop posting about things and UK moderation things, and they keep doing it. They did it like 4 times after that. You can even scroll up and forward and see Josh was straight telling them to stop in their own party channel. Um, the whole incident with Russia, there was a lot of collaboration with Russia. So just in general, there is a lot of things to be worried about with Forward. A lot of sketchy shadiness. They have the quid pro quo with UKFO, literal organized crime group, and putting football in a high position of power in their party to get their votes, which has been exposed now. Um, they've just done a lot of things that really should scare the common voter because they will destroy this country if they were to ever see government. And so I totally believe that the 50 or 60 votes in the BBC that said they're the biggest threat. I believe that there is a lot of substance to that, considering the actions that Ford has taken so far.
Because I'm going to tell you this now. In the poll that we're conducting at the moment, I can say that on the question of who are you going to vote for in the next election, in the upcoming one, a big chunk are saying that Forward UK are going to vote for, not Forward UK, the people are going to vote for Forward UK. So
I feel like after voter verification, that number will be significantly less. Uh, they have a lot of people, and a lot of them are people that were not active in the United Kingdom whatsoever until after Forward reformed. Uh, I We'll just have to see in the election. Obviously, the Electoral Commission will make determinations on that. I can't say anything for certain because I don't know. But I do have a strong feeling that, I mean, you could look at election news. Like 5 or 6 Forward members have already had their votes stripped for committing electoral violations, such as improper campaigning, DM campaigning mostly. Um, Bribery, I believe, was one of them, if I remember correctly. One of them bribed someone. Uh, More DM campaigning. So one of their members had a 2-month ban from politics because, wait, was it 3 months? I think it was a 3-month ban actually. Benjamin Reel, he got a 3-month ban for consistently violating the rules. Yeah, DM campaigning. So yes, sure, they may have a lot of votes, but how many of them were earned legitimately? How many of them were earned fairly? And I think uh, that will show in the election when the Electoral Commission's voter validation team validates those voters.
So I have one last thing to say here. With Forward UK, it's pretty much like late 1920s Weimar Germany, as you know.
I was the one that coined that in Parliament.
Yeah, it's pretty much because they're like doing scandal after scandal,
Yeah.
illegal thing after illegal thing. It sort of brings back the old memories of the late 1920s in Germany. But those were the questions that I have for you, Bossman. Thank you very much for coming on here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This was
No
a solid
problemo.
interview.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on and whatnot, and hopefully we'll see you back on here soon.
Absolutely. I'd love to come back on. Just send me the invite and I'll gladly come back on.
Okay then, thank you very much, Bossman.
Thank you.